Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audio fiction, written by Jheqia, narrated by Dawn, me, hello, and it's part of the Secret series for Marichat Monday, if you love her. So I hope you enjoy it. Send me some love by smashing that like button. Send Jheqia some love by checking out her other stories over at Deviantart. And send Shani some massive amount of love for the use of her art in the thumbnail, which is just stunning. I love this artist, she's amazing. So go and send her some love. All her information is in the description below. And make sure you comment. You kind of know what's happened before and after, if you kind of know what I'm talking about with the Secret series. But I still love to hear your comments, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future treats and stories to come. So I hope you enjoy. If you love her. Cat's POV. Cat was nervous and his heart pounded. He had fought a hawkmoth, Mayura, countless akumas, and monsters out of legend, and none of that had prepared him for what he was about to do. He stood outside the door to Marinette's family's apartment, and he was going to ask her parents for their permission to ask for their daughter's hand in marriage. Yeah, there is nothing scarier than talking to the parents, he thought, steeling himself to knock at the door. I would take fighting akumas over this any day. He knew that Tom and Sabine had forgiven him for his rejecting Marinette when they were younger and the unfortunate akumanization that had followed. But since he and Marinette had started their secret dates, he had felt like he was on a tentative probation. Now he was having to face her father, who had been so angry over his daughter's heartbreak at his hands that he had turned into some twisted version of beast, with Marinette trapped like Belle in a prison of thorns. But she had forgiven him at the time, and he hoped that her parents, Tom especially, wouldn't hold it against him this time when he was willing to do anything to make her his wife. His hands shaking, he knocked on the door. He could hear the booming voice of Tom and the soft twitter of Sabine on the other side, and he could feel himself sweat under the suit. The door opened, and Sabine's sweet face smiled at him from around the door. Good to see you, Cat Noir. Come in, she said. Would you like something to eat or drink? No, thank you, Mrs. Deviantart, he said, following her into the apartment and into the dining area. I was just hoping to talk to you and Mr. Dupin about... His words drifted away from him as his eyes met those of Marinette's father. Tom Dupin was the best baker in Paris and was just a big softy, according to Marinette. But in Cat's estimation, he was soft-peddling the truth. Marinette's father didn't need to be akumatized to be scary. He was a bear of a man, and the sheer difference in their shoulders was enough to make him think twice about tangling with him over anything, though from what Marinette had told him, Sabine was the one who was deadly. His princess was worth this nerve-wracking ordeal, but he just hoped he would get out of it in any condition to ask her. Either way, Tom was staring at him from beneath deeply furrowed brows, his large forearms crossed and his moustache bristling with menace. Have a seat, Cat Noir, Sabine said, sitting at the head of the small table. She patted a seat next to her and looked expectantly at her husband, who shook his head and an angry squint to his eyes. She stood awkwardly, not know whether to sit with his hostess or stand for his intimidating host, until Sabine gently tugged him into a seat next to her. Now, what did you want to talk to us about, dear? Sir, madam, I would like to ask for your permission to ask Marinette if she will marry me. His mouth went dry as he winced internally, his words coming out in a terrified whisper. He was Chat Noir, hero of Paris, and here he was intimidated by a baker and his pixie wife. A baker who looks like he wouldn't need a miraculous to take him apart, and a pixie is a master at martial arts, his brain warned him. There was a tense silence from Tom as Sabine patted his gloved hand sympathetically. "Take it," Tom said sternly. What?" His heart was racing and he swallowed hard. "You have my permission to ask her. If she gives you her heart, don't you break it." "Tom, honey, be nice," Sabine soothed. She glanced at Cat and a gentle look that reminded him of Marinette. "What we mean, Cat Noir, is we just want to know that she's going to be loved, safe, and provided for." "I promise, Mr. Dupin, Mrs. Dupin-Chang, that I'm well able to provide for your daughter. I know my actions as a hero can speak for my ability to do my duty, but where my heart is what I do. Well, I will go to the ends of the earth for Marinette. She's my princess." The big man leaned against the kitchen counter, too tense to sit at the table with him and his wife. He glowered at him. "Then you won't mind if I give you some advice?" His flower-dusted eyebrows narrowed even further, and Cat swallowed hard before shaking his head. "Can you let your arms be a safe place she feels safe in? 'Cause she's the best thing you'll ever have." "I know," he whispered. "Do you know she always has trouble falling asleep 'cause she likes to cuddle with her cat pillow whilst under the sheets? That she loves pop songs and dancing and bad trash TV?" "Yeah, I know," Cat said again, a slight grin trying to pull at his lips. Did her father really doubt that he knew her? That he didn't know everything about his princess? "There are still a few other things," Tom interjected. "She loves love notes and babies," Cat said softly, "even though babysitting can drive her nuts sometimes, and she likes giving gifts. Her favorite color is pink. She will rival Gabriel Agreste as a fashion designer once she gets going. Design is her dream, and I want to work to help her make it come true. She wants 3 children and a hamster. She's an amazing baker and cook and is as sweet as macaroons. But she has a hard time accepting a good compliment, so I'm not sure she really takes it in when I tell her all those things." He rubbed his neck in embarrassment. He was here to ask for their blessings, and he was babbling as bad as Marinette used to. Well, in for a penny, in for a pound. "She loves her whole family and worked hard to bring her grandfather round so you could all be together for your birthday, sir. And she loves all her friends the same way. I have lost track of how many times I have seen her worrying about her friends, her classmates, even strangers. Marinette has a heart big enough for the whole world." He couldn't meet Tom's eyes any longer and looked down, trying not to let them see him wiping his eyes. A small hand touched his with a fairy touch. Cat glanced up to see Sabine giving him such a kind motherly look that he nearly lost it right there. She cast her silver eyes over to her husband with a quirked eyebrow. Tom nodded. "So, Cat Noir, so if you're the one she lets in, take it. If she gives you her heart, be gentle and don't break it. Like Tom said, let your arms be the place she feels safe in. 'Cause she's the best thing I'll ever have," he whispered hoarsely. "She'll love you And if you love her on days when it feels like the whole world might cave in, she will always love you," she said softly. "It won't be easy, but if you stand side by side, and you'll make it. And she's the best thing you'll ever have. She'll love you if you love her like that." She rose to stand by her husband, patting his forearm with one delicate hand. This time, Cat didn't bother to hide the tears in his eyes. "My family has always been a mess, and Marinette has always had you and looked up to you so much. So I know I have a lot to learn. Is that how it is with you two?" The smile that passed between the baker and his wife was something so familiar that it rocked him to his core. It was full of love, confidence, and a deep sense of overcoming things together. He felt all those things: his love for Marinette, his confidence in her talent, compassion and heart, and the victory that she celebrated with him every Akuma fight, just like Ladybug. He almost expected her parents to touch fists in their own victory salute. Tom finally stopped propping up the counter to come over and put a massive arm around his tiny wife. "You want to know how our marriage works?" "Yes, please," he asked sheepishly. "I want to do right by Marinette, more than anything." The large man looked at him as if he was being weighed and measured like so much flour. Oh, he hoped he wasn't found wanting. Suddenly, Tom's immense shoulders relaxed and grinned with the same face-filling smile his daughter had. He rubbed Sabine's shoulder and gave her a loving look before turning his attention back to Cat. "You kiss her with passion as much as you can, 'cause it never gets old, believe me," he said, his eyes still stern, but his tone was softer, gentler. "Run your fingers through her hair whenever she's sad, and when she doesn't notice how pretty she is, and Marinette doesn't very often, tell her over and over so she never forgets." His wife leaned her head against his arm, looking at him with such love that Cat almost looked away with a blush on her cheeks. "He wakes me each morning by kissing my cheek," she said, "and when I look a mess, he says you're perfect to me. He's more than my best friend, forever, and then some. I chose him over and over again." As he looked at Marinette's parents, it was as if he was watching them renew their vows, and yet it was so casually done that it was clear this was a regular thing between them. His heart swelled with longing for the simple complexity of the love that they had for each other. They yearned to give such a perfect gift, perfect love, to Marinette. But would he even be worthy of a love like this? Tom stepped forward and gently grasped his shoulder across the table. "Cat Noir, before she was your princess, she was mine. And I have one last question for you." Cat nodded, eyes wide. "You do realize you can't wear that suit to my daughter's wedding, right?" His tone was so casual and his expression so mild that he couldn't help but laugh. I know. I still need to check with Ladybug, but if she gives me the okay, you guys will know who I am at some point soon. That is," he mumbled, his throat dry, "if she accepts me. I want Marinette to love all of me." "Then you may ask her with our blessing." Cat could feel his heart leap with hope and gratitude. He jumped up and flung his arms around his future family, tears flowing down his face. "Thank you," he whispered through the tears of happiness, "for everything." They wrapped their arms around him, surrounding him in... there was no words for it. They surrounded him in love. He, Cat Noir, was now part of their family. They were showing him the love they would give a son, and it both broke his heart and mended it at the same time. Hey, what's all this about, and where can I get some? A sweet voice called out, filled with laughter. The trio turned and saw Marinette come through the door. Tom gestured her over, and she joined the group hug, snuggling in next to Cat with the sweetest smile on her face. As frightened as he had been when he first arrived, and as nervous as he was to ask Marinette the biggest question of his life, today had been the best of days. Her parents had accepted him as family, something he hadn't felt in so long. He had gained their blessing in asking Marinette to marry him, and now he was surrounded by love and family. Home. That was what it was. After being lost for years, Adrian had finally found his way home. So, Sabine said briskly, breaking up the hug with a kind smile, would you like to stay for dinner, Cat Noir? He longed to, but he didn't know how long he could keep this joy to himself, and he knew he wanted to make the proposal special. Sorry, I just dropped by for a quick chat, he said with a grin as Marinette groaned in the background. I have some things to work on, but I'll try to find time this weekend if the offer still stands. Of course, dear, Sabine said. Marinette, would you like to see him out? Sure. She walked him to the entryway and held the door for him. Kitty, what was all that about? Like I said, just drop by for a talk with your folks. He glanced over her shoulder as Tom and Sabine laughing and joking happily together in the small kitchenette. They really are amazing. Yeah, she said, a fond smile on her face. They are, aren't they? Are you sure you can't stay? She gave him the cutest little pout and baby doll eyes that almost drowned him in blue. He chuckled at her tricks and kissed her on the forehead. Not tonight, princess, but soon. He stepped out into the hallway, but was warmed by her fingers weaving in his and her walking with him down the stairs. And you won't tell me what your little chat was about then? Nope. Fine. Keep your secrets. I know I can get them out of you if I really wanted to. But you love being surprised as long as they're good ones, and this one is. So I'm not letting you kiss it out of me just yet, princess. He stopped at the door that led out to the street and caressed her cheek, wishing he wasn't wearing his gloves so he could feel the warmth of her skin. Soon. Soon enough. Soon. Instead, he leaned down and kissed her softly, drinking in her sweetness. I thought you said you wouldn't let me kiss it out of you, she murmured, looking up at him with shining eyes. Well, I wasn't about to go home without a favor from my princess to keep me warm. She scoffed at him and flicked his bell. It's summer, you silly kitty. Ah, but it's a cold, lonely life for your poor alley cat. She laughed. You might have been able to convince me you were a poor stray kitten when we were 14, but I know you better now. You're as domestic as they come, she teased, clicking her tongue on the k, making him grin. Domestic. I like the sound of that. Care to play house with me, princess? She giggled, but the golden lamplight couldn't hide the faint tinge of pink that graced her cheeks. You'd make a very sweet lap cat. You seem the type to like to cuddle. That would definitely make me purr, princess, but I really need to be going. he sighed, pressing his forehead against hers. I love you, you know. She stood on tiptoes to kiss his cheek. I love you too, Cat. See you tomorrow? I wouldn't miss our movie night for anything in the world. Good night, love. Sweet dreams. You too. He stepped away from her warmth and sweetness, his heart aching for the day when they would never be parted again. He leapt off into the night, using his baton to land on a roof across the street. He waited, watching for the light to come on in her attic room. It flickered to life, and he saw her moving about, putting things away most likely. He thought back to what Tom and Sabine had told him. Take it. If she gives you her heart, don't you break it. Let your arms be a place she feels safe in. She's the best thing you'll ever have. Yes, yes, he would be her safe place, her shelter from the storm of life, and he would never hurt her or break her heart. She would be his treasure, his partner, his wife. Oh, how he hoped she said yes. She'll love you if you love her on days when it feels the whole world might cave in. Stand side by side and you'll make it. Marinette was truly the best thing that had ever happened to him. She's the best thing he'd ever have. She'll love you if you love her like that. Right then. Cat vowed he would honor her and her parents by loving her as they loved each other. He would build her a home full of love, her warmth, their laughter. I'll love you like that, he whispered towards the light that was Marinette. Soon. Thank you for listening to If You Love Her. Oh, all the feels. It's so beautiful. So go and make sure you send Jheqia some love for writing it, and check out all her other stories. Send me some love by smashing that like button, sharing the story around, and comment down below what you think of it. And yeah, there are other little snippets and one-shots of this kind of little makeshift series coming, so make sure you look out for that and subscribe so you don't miss out on them. I can't talk now. And I hope you're good, and I will speak to you soon. Okay, bye.